So I got myself into a Facebook conversation the other day. I chimed in on a post that was called The Parable of the Cheap Client. And basically the idea was this client comes in and talks to a web designer and says, hey, I'd like a website. What does it cost? The web designer says some big number, like $4,000. And then the client's like, why does it cost so much? We're just building a website, right? And then throughout the rest of the story, the web designer just unpacks all of the work that's going to go into building this website. I spent a ton of time learning how to do all of this stuff. I bought a ton of software licenses. I'm going to have to do keyword research. There's security implications. So like all of the stuff that goes into it. And like as the details are revealed, the client begins to understand the magnitude of what they're actually asking for. And by the end of the story, the client realizes, hey, that's a pretty good deal. Okay, I didn't understand that I was asking for so much. And now that I do, that makes a lot of sense. I don't think that works anymore. I really don't think that works anymore. In fact, I think the end of the timeline where that stopped working was really the pandemic. And from the pandemic forward, especially going into 2024, I don't think selling the value of your work it just doesn't resonate with clients anymore. They don't really care about the work. They care about the results. And so my point was, and when I chimed in, I was like, I think that the main idea here is not to put an emphasis on how hard it is to do the work, but to put an emphasis on how great the outcomes are going to be for the client. And I think that's the way to go. But then that opens up a whole nother set of questions of like, how do I know what the value is? Like, how do I know how to do that? What if you've never value priced a project before? How do you know what the value of your work is? And I think there's 3 questions that we need to answer in order to solve that. And I want to go through all of it right now with a real world actual example with actual numbers and actual niches and the details behind all of that so you can see how I'm doing it. And maybe you'll feel like this pattern is going to work well for you too. You can try it out as well. And if you do, drop a note in the comments and let me know. Or even if you feel confused on any of the steps we're about to go through, let me know so I can help you with it right here for free. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And if nothing else, let me know if you even just feel like it's eye-opening. But here's the 3 questions. The first one is, I want to make sure that it's a good value for the client. So I want to figure out, how do I calculate the value for the client? But I also want to make sure it's a good deal for you. So how do you calculate the value to you? And then the third is, you got to stay within reach and within reason. So we don't want to price yourself out of the market. And I'm only talking about your bottom rung package. I normally recommend that you have a 3-tier pricing system for your packages, like a small, a medium, and a large, or good, better, best. And I'm only talking about the bottom one, because with the mid-tier and the high end, it doesn't really matter what the raw price is. The only thing that matters is that it's a good return on investment, meaning that the client's making a lot more revenue than they're paying you to generate that revenue. But the bottom one is really important because you want to make sure that your stuff is within reach. An example would be, suppose you see this house that you want to invest in. It's like this beautiful property, and you're just 100% certain that if you bought this beautiful property, that in the next few years it will like double in value or something like that. So you're 100% confident it's a good deal. The problem is the house is like $1 million and you don't have $1 million. So you just can't buy it even if you wanted to. Even though you know it's a good deal, you're just kind of priced out of the market. I don't want that to happen to your bottom tier pricing, because if you can get people on the first step, then your help can help them generate the extra revenue to graduate up to the higher tiers. So what we're going to be talking about going forward is just like the bottom tier price point, like the bottom one, the least expensive one. So that's basically the idea of making sure that your offer is accessible. So then we say, okay, well, how do we do that? What are the prices? And let's do a real world example. And if you know anything about me, like usually the very first thing I always say is we have to pick a niche. Because if you don't know who you're building it for, how do you even know what to do? Like, what if it's an e-commerce person? What if it's a local business? What if it's health and wellness? Whatever. You got to pick a niche. And if you don't have a niche, go over to lead.blue/leads, take my niche mastery course. It's totally free. I'll show you how to pick a niche. And then I'll also show you how to get virtually unlimited leads for free from within the niche that you select. And it's all right here. But for now, let me point out a couple of niches that I think are actually really cool. And maybe you haven't thought of before. Like, I think these are some of the most profitable home service niches. So like, say you want to go in the home service route. I think one of the top ones is pool maintenance. Where people like come over and clean and maintain your pool for you. Like if you have a swimming pool, like, this is really big, like in Florida. Like parents live in Florida and they got somebody that does this. So pool maintenance is like $1,500 per year. And depending on where you live and whatever, it can vary. It tends to be like $80 to $150 per month. And it depends on the size of your pool and where you live and stuff. But sometimes, like if you have an outdoor pool, like as opposed to an inside pool, then you might need to close the pool so you're not getting maintenance all year long. But then you have to like close and open the pool, and that's like $400 each time you do that. So generally speaking, overall, it's about $1,500 a year. And that's pretty cool because I like it when if I can get one customer for my client, they make over $1,000, and pool maintenance is really cool for that. I also like businesses where you're likely to have repeat customers, even if you're not on like a technical subscription or a membership. Like most people don't subscribe or join a membership for pool maintenance, but if the guy did a good job and I keep my pool, I'm probably going to keep working with the same person over and over. Like I'm very likely to have lots of repeat purchases. And the same thing applies to like dog grooming, especially mobile dog grooming, where people will come to your house and take care of your dog. The average price for that is about $450 per year per dog for mobile dog grooming. It works out to be about $75 per visit. And you generally like trim your dog's fur like every 2 months, something like that. And we've actually got 2 dogs. So like that would be like $900 per household because we got 2 dogs. Mobile auto detailing is sort of in the same category. It's very likely to have repeat customers, repeat purchases, usually 2 to 4 times per year. You can make about, I don't know, let's see, I made a note here. $435 per car per year is what that's what you kind of expect in that space. At-home piano teachers, that's around $1,800 per year per student for, it's like $150 per month for weekly 30-minute lessons. So it's very likely that you keep the same piano teacher, even though it's not like a formal subscription with like automatic billing and stuff. But here's the one that's really interesting. House call pediatricians. Like actually one of my clients is a house call pediatrician, and he charges $100 per month per child and focuses on like newborns, has a special newborn package and everything. But the idea there is he'll come to your house and take care of your kids so you don't have to go and sit in waiting rooms and expose your baby to other sick children and stuff like that. But anyway, all that is to say, there's a bunch of really cool kind of recurring revenue style niches that even if it doesn't include an actual subscription. But let's take pool maintenance, for example. So we have these 3 questions, like what's the value to the client, what's the value to you, and how do we stay within reach? So let's talk about calculating the client's value. And we picked this pool maintenance as an example. So what I like to do, see if this works. Do you ever, when somebody contacts you and they're like, hey, I want you to build my website and how much is it going to cost? Isn't the normal pattern for you, like this is my normal pattern used to be, how do I figure out what I need to do? So I'll have a discovery session, I'll meet with a client and then develop a scope of work. And then I'll figure out, well, how long is it going to take? What do I need to buy? What are the other resources? What's the total cost to me? And then I'll put a price on that. And so I'll start with the work and end up with the price. But with this, flip that upside down and start with the price and backfill the work. So if we know that if we could get one customer for our pool maintenance client, that one customer is going to be worth $1,500 per year. So then I think, okay, what if I gave myself a budget of $750? So like half of the $1,500. What could I do for $750 where I feel almost 100% certain that my client would get at least one customer per month? Not per day, not per week, but one per month. Is there anything that I could do to make that happen? Or maybe maybe 1 or 2. So I'm not talking about a huge number of new customers. I'm just talking about enough to be able to move the needle in the right direction. So if I could do that, if I could just get one client, like one pool maintenance customer for my client, they're going to make $1,500. It only costs them $750. So now they have like, what is that? That's like a 200% ROI. They're doubling their money off of one client per month. That's huge. And then I think, well, what if I did 2? What if I could get 2 clients? Well, now they're making $3,000 of revenue. It's only going to cost them $750 to do it. That's like a 400% ROI. So that's how and it's so simple as that. Now, when you're picking your niche, try to pick a niche where you know somebody in that space and you can just ask them and say, what is the average annual value of one of your clients? And they can just tell you. And then you can do this math. That's really the only major factor that you need to know is how many clients do I need to get for my client to make sure that what they're paying me is a good ROI. And this is an example. So that's calculating the client's value. And again, check lead.blue/leads if you need a niche. But let's go on to the next one, which is calculating the value to you. So now I'm thinking, just like we just talked about, it's like, how can I backfill what I'm going to do for $750 per month? Now, when I'm talking about my entry-level package, I want to make sure that all of the client's marketing budget goes directly to you. Like I don't want to do paid ads in my entry-level plan because if the client is taking, if they have a very limited ad budget to begin, or marketing budget to begin with, and then they start, having an ad spend as part of that, they're probably going to get into a situation where they can't afford to keep you on board and they're just running the ads. And so that means they're just going to be throwing their money away because they need you to help capture the traffic and turn the traffic into leads and convert the leads into clients. Like, they need you. And if they can keep you on board, then you can help them get some leads organically. And then that extra revenue can then bump them up to your mid-tier where you can begin to introduce your paid traffic, then your high end as well. So all of that is to say, calculating the value to you, how can we backfill what we were going to do in a way that does not include paid ads, but does make us feel pretty confident that you can get at least one client per month? So that's a pretty low bar, just one client per month. And I'm talking about stuff like optimize your client's Google business profile so they show up for more organic searches. Get them some more reviews so they're building social proof. Set up an extra profile like on Yelp or Angie or Home Advisor, like different business directories. Forge business referrals. Like, find other types of businesses that don't offer pool maintenance, but probably have clients that need pool maintenance. Like people that sell pool supplies, pool installation, property management businesses, stuff like that. Like, create relationships that these people can send referrals to your pool maintenance client. And that's free. Like that's not ads. That's just in-person networking. That's organic networking. And on top of that, develop lead magnet. Like, make sure that your client's website is as good as possible at converting the traffic they already have into leads. So stick an email opt-in form, download something cool about pool maintenance, the difference between chlorine and saline or whatever, and then build an email list and nurture that list into actual paying customers. And that's no ad budget there. And then, like, design business cards and stuff, like stuff that they can hand out when they go to networking events and BNI groups and stuff. It's like, and I'm not saying you have to do all of that stuff for $750. I'm just saying, like, based on where you are right now with what you're comfortable with, those are some ideas. Pick a couple of those things that you feel like would be enough to get them at least one client per month doing that stuff. And so now they're making significantly more money than they're paying you, and then they can ride that out for a little bit, and then in a few months, we'll bump them up into the paid tier, like the next tier where you have paid traffic coming in. That'll really blow their hair back, right? So, like, you can walk, as long as they can get on the bottom rung, you can walk them up the rest of the ladder. We want to make sure the bottom rung is not too high, but we also want to stay within reason. So you can go too low. So now here's the last part of all of this, which is how do we, and I want to give you some actual numbers and based on my experience working in the United States with local businesses, like what would be the minimum, like the bare bones bottom minimum that I would charge for a package like this? Because I don't want to go so low or so inexpensive that I don't have enough time to work with my client enough to actually get them any results. Like, I wouldn't say, well, for $500, I will redesign your logo for you. And that's the whole package. Because now they're just getting up with a better logo, but they still don't have any traffic and they're still not pulling leads. They're still not converting clients. They just have a better logo that nobody's looking at. So I don't want to go that low. That's too low. But I also want to make sure that it's low enough that people can get on board. And here's what I found to be kind of like the magical sweet spot for the bottom price. Like, I would call it a $500 setup and $350 per month. Like, I don't want to go any lower than that. And the reason for that is I want you to be making close to $100 per hour, if not more. And I think anytime you get a client, if you're going to be able to spend enough time working with them to really move the needle in the right direction for them, you're probably going to need to spend 5 hours onboarding the client, upgrading their website, just doing some stuff to get yourself into a position where you could do some monthly maintenance work, some monthly marketing work. And then you're going to need the monthly marketing budget, and that's $350 per month. So that'll give you like 45 minutes to an hour per week to work with your client, to focus on your client. And I don't think, like, if you don't have at least that, if you don't have at least 45 minutes to an hour per week, how in the world are you going to have any time to do anything that really matters in terms of like moving the needle for your client? Because that's what happens. Because as long as you can get them at least 1 or 2 customers per month, then they'll run that for a month or 2, 3, whatever, run that for a while. And then they'll be like, hey, I've got more revenue that I can invest in my marketing. I've got more confidence in you that you know what you're doing because this is working. And then you bump them back up to your mid-tier, run some paid ads, really blow their hair back with that, and then you can keep walking them up the ladder there. So as long as they can get in the car, you can just take them to the moon, although cars don't go to the moon. But you get the point, right? As long as you can get them started, you can really roll, right? So that's kind of where I feel like the magic sweet spot is that $500 setup, $350 per month. And so there we go. So now we've got some pricing for your like the bare bones bottom minimum pricing. We kind of have a general idea of how to do our good, better, best packages. So now we know our pricing. The next question is, should we put the pricing on the website? Check out this video right here and I'll talk about that. Should you post your prices for everybody to see or not? Check it out right here and I'll see you there.